For 90s kids, Pokemon is a tale as old as time. Kids growing up watching it are familiar with all of Ash's Pokemon, friends, battles, and rivals. It's weird to think about a world where Ash's adventures through Kanto play out any differently. Which got me thinking, how would the Pokemon world change if Ash actually woke up on time in episode 1? And that's what this video is all about. Quick shout out to Enter the Unknown, who's already covered this topic. I've watched this video and it gave me a lot of insight into the idea. I decided to make a few small changes in the logic that I think will give an interesting twist to the story. In episode 1, Ash arrives bright and early to Professor Oak's lab. Because of this, he gets his choice of the 3 starters. In the anime, it shows Ash's first choice to be a Squirtle, but it's revealed much later that Gary actually got the Squirtle. This is because Professor Oak saves Squirtle for Gary. So, Ash settles for his second choice, Bulbasaur. After leaving Professor Oak's lab, he runs into a wild Pidgey. Ash is still a noob, but uses the Pokédex to teach him the importance of using his Pokemon to catch other Pokemon. So, Ash sends out his Bulbasaur, and because it's obedient, weakens the wild Pidgey, allowing Ash to catch his first Pokemon. With this being Ash's first experience as a Pokemon trainer, it greatly shapes his views around Pokemon training. Because he never had a Pikachu who refused to go in the Pokeball, he never got that connection and friendship with his Pokemon, and he never has to fight for the respect of his Bulbasaur. He therefore ends up viewing Pokemon more as tools for him to use instead of friends for him to bond with. Because Ash never tries to catch the Pidgey on his own, he doesn't end up hitting the Spearow with a rock, and therefore doesn't run into Misty and steal her bike. This means Ash actually never meets Misty, so, for the time being, Ash is still on this journey alone. He continues his way on the path towards Viridian City without too much trouble. Excited about the Pidgey he caught, he also finds a Rattata, which he battles and captures, adding it to his team. Ash makes his way to the Viridian City Pokémon Center to heal up his Pokemon. He spends the night there, and soon encounters Jesse and James of Team Rocket, trying to steal all the Pokemon from the Pokémon Center. Ash tries to fend them off by throwing Pokeballs at them, one containing a Pidgey and the other a Rattata. After having no luck getting strong Pokemon, and seeing that Pidgey and Rattata are no match for Team Rocket, Ash is forced to battle them with Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur puts up a good fight, but is bested by Team Rocket. When all hope looks lost, the Pikachu who are supplying the backup power for the Pokemon Center come to the rescue and zap Jesse and James. Bulbasaur then finishes off Meowth with a tackle attack, incapacitating Team Rocket. Officer Jenny, already on the way to the Pokemon Center, catches Team Rocket in the act and arrests them. This is where one of the biggest changes in the story come into play. Without Ash's powered up Pikachu, the other Pikachu didn't have enough power to create the explosion which caused Team Rocket to blast off for the first time, allowing them to get away. Ash is thanked for his help and moves on to the Viridian Forest. Because Misty wasn't there to scream at every bug she sees, Ash never ends up encountering the Caterpie. Later on in Viridian Forest, Ash encounters a Pidgeotto and tries to battle it with his Pidgey. Pidgeotto proves too much for Pidgey to handle and takes it out without much effort, then just flies away. This encounter helps Ash understand the value of training his Pokemon and evolving them to make them stronger. A little deeper in the forest, Ash encounters a Weedle and decides to battle it with his Pidgey. Pidgey has the upper hand, but the noise of the battle attracts a samurai bug catcher. The two agree to battle, with the samurai starting off with Pinsir against Ash's Pidgey. Pinsir easily takes out Pidgey, followed by Ash's Rattata. Ash then sends out Bulbasaur, which stops Pinsir's Pinsers using his Vine Whip, then throws it to the ground, taking it out. The samurai then sends out Metapod, which is a useless Pokemon and just kinda sits there until it gets beaten down. I don't know what he was thinking on that one. Ash makes it through the forest and meets Flint, who takes him to the Pokemon Center and teaches him about the Pokemon League and collecting badges. So, Ash decides to go and challenge Brock. Ash starts the battle with Pidgey against Brock's Onix. As expected, Pidgey gets creamed. So, Ash then sends out Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is able to take out Onix with a Razor Leaf, forcing Brock to send out Geodude. Bulbasaur was too weak from fighting Onix, so it goes down quickly. Ash decides to go back to Flint, who agrees to help him train up his Bulbasaur and Pidgey. He returns to Brock's gym with his powered-up Pokemon to try the battle again. This time, Brock starts with Geodude against Ash's Pidgey. It puts up a good fight, but is no match for Geodude. Next, Ash sends out Bulbasaur, who easily takes out the exhausted Geodude. Last, Brock sends out Onix, but it's no match for the powered up Bulbasaur. And as he tries to initiate the final blow, Brock's siblings stop him, pleading for mercy. And after a moment of hesitation, he agrees to stop the battle. Brock catches up with him a little bit later to award him the Boulder badge, and decides to join him on his adventures. Ash and Brock arrive in Cerulean City, where they find the Ash challenges them to a battle, which they accept. They agree to a one-on-one battle because two other trainers from Pallet Town have already come through and exhausted their other Pokémon.
The Sensational Sisters
Send out their Seal, while Ash sends out his Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is able to pull Seal out of the water with his Vine Whip and finishes it off with a Razor Leaf, earning Ash the Cascade badge. As a result of the battle, Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur. Ash, feeling good about his 2 gym badges, starts challenging every trainer he can. And, as a result of all the training, Pidgey evolves into Pidgeotto. Ash and Brock run into a kid named AJ, who's 2 matches away from having 100 undefeated battles. So, naturally Ash challenges him to a battle. AJ starts off with a Sandshrew, so Ash uses his newly evolved Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto puts up a good fight, but Sandshrew takes it out with a combination of Dig and Tackle. So, Ash sends out Ivysaur next. Ivysaur proves too strong for Sandshrew and just stomps it with a Razor Leaf, forcing AJ to send out Butterfree. Butterfree's tough, but Ivysaur takes it out with a well-timed Vine Whip, thus ending the hopes and dreams of AJ going 100-0. Better luck next time. Ash and Brock continue their path to Vermilion City and encounter an Oddish, which Ash tries to capture. A wild Bulbasaur comes to its aid, which turns out to be the protector of a small Pokémon village led by Melanie. This is where Team Rocket grunts show up and try to steal all the Pokémon. Ash saves the village, and as a result, Bulbasaur decides to join him. Yes, that means that Ash now has a Bulbasaur and an Ivysaur on his team. A little further down the road, Ash and Brock run into a Charmander sitting on a rock. They try to rescue the Charmander, but because Team Rocket didn't try to steal Pikachu like in the anime, Charmander has no reason to come back to Ash to try to help him, and as a result, Charmander remains waiting on the rock. Yeah, that's kinda sad. Moving on. In the next town, Ash and Brock meet the Squirtle Squad, who end up playing a few harmless pranks on them. The duo find this mildly irritating, but ultimately decide to move on to the next town. It's becoming painfully obvious that Team Rocket was a main reason why Ash got a lot of his Pokémon, and a lot of his gym badges. Eventually, Brock ends up explaining to Ash that he needs 6 Pokémon to compete in the Pokémon League. This drives him to run to the beach and catch himself a Krabby, giving him a 5th team member. Ash arrives in Vermilion City and heads straight to the battle with Lieutenant Surge. Ash chooses his Ivysaur against Surge's Raichu. Because electric attacks are weak against grass Pokemon, Ivysaur has the advantage and just barely squeaks by with a victory, earning Ash the Thunder Badge. A little later in Vermilion City, some rocket grunts hand Ash and Brock tickets to the SS Anne. They board the ship and Ash challenges a gentleman and his Raticate to a battle. He decides to use his newly caught Krabby, who easily wins the battle and then evolves. The gentleman then proposes a trade for Ash's newly evolved Kingler, which he accepts, receiving a Raticate in exchange. After Team Rocket attacks the ship, Ash decides to keep the Raticate instead of trading it back like in the anime. This is because Ash's main motivation for trading back was his bond with Butterfree. As a result, Ash and Brock are able to make it off the ship before it starts to sink. A few days later, Ash and Brock spot an injured Horsey in the water, followed by a huge explosion on a boat off the coastline. Ash and Brock run for help, but without having any water Pokemon to save the sailors, many of them don't make it back to shore. This is a pretty dark timeline, guys. Brock takes Horsey and nurses it back to health. Then, when it's fully healed, suggests Ash takes it as a water Pokemon for his team. Ash and Brock make it to Saffron City to challenge Sabrina. Sabrina easily beats Ash and turns him and Brock into dolls until Sabrina's father comes and saves them. The duo then travel to Lavender Town to get a ghost Pokemon to battle Sabrina's psychic Pokemon. Ash challenges Sabrina again, but only ends up winning because Haunter is a master of slapstick. A well-deserved victory in my opinion. Ash makes a call to Professor Oak to brag about his badges, only to learn that Gary is far ahead of him. This drives him to battle and capture a Mankey that stole his hat. In the anime, Team Rocket show up and kick Mankey, causing it to evolve into Primeape. Because they weren't around, Ash ends up capturing it as a Mankey instead. He then calls Professor Oak to exchange his Rattata for the Mankey. Ash and Brock make it to Celadon City, but unlike in the anime, Misty isn't there to go into the perfume store, causing Ash to offend the whole perfume community to its core, banning him from a gym battle. Instead, he just walks right up to the gym and asks for a battle. The first matchup is between Bulbasaur and Tangela. Tangela paralyzes Bulbasaur, forcing Ash to send out Raticate, and Erica sends out Weepinbell. The two have an even fight, with Raticate coming out on top. Last is Erica's Gloom versus Ash's Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto ends up blowing away Gloom's aroma and taking him out with a wing attack, earning Ash the Rainbow Badge. After a whole situation with a Hypno, a Drowsy, and a bunch of insane children, Brock ends up offering to take a Psyduck and adds it to his team. He then takes Ash to Breeder's Lane to find Susie. They exchange stories, Brock professes his love for her, and in the end, he's let down softly. Because Misty wasn't there to get captured, Vulpix never has to save her, and as a result, Vulpix stays with Susie. Susie watches on as the man with the unforgiving libido leaves Breeder's Lane. Ash and Brock come across the P1 Grand Tournament and decide to enter. Brock's Geodude is eliminated in the first round because it's not a fighting Pokemon, and Ash's Mankey just makes it through the first round with Machop, causing it to evolve into Primeape. Primeape does well in the tournament, making it all the way to the finals, but is finally defeated by Rebecca's father's Hitmonchan. Finally getting the victory that caused him to neglect his family, Rebecca's father returns home to repair the everlasting damage he's done to his daughter. Next, Ash and Brock go to the Fuchsia City gym where they meet Aya and challenge her to a battle. Ash uses Ivysaur against Aya's Venonat. Ivysaur is able to secure the win with a very overpowered Leech Seed. Then Koga comes out and says that he's actually the gym leader and Ash has to battle him. Koga sends out a Venomoth against Ash's Pidgeotto. Venomoth puts Pidgeotto to sleep with a sleep powder, forcing Ash to recall him, and Ash sends out Ivysaur instead. Ivysaur uses his Razor Leaf to break through the sleep powder and gets the KO on Venomoth. Last, Koga sends out Golbat. The battle is tough, but Ivysaur uses his newly learned Solar Beam to take out Golbat, giving Ash the victory and the Soul Badge. As a result of the battle, Ivysaur evolves into Venusaur. Ash and Brock make their way to the Safari Zone, where they learn that there's tons of Pokemon to catch. He ends up catching 2 Tauros before he hears the... In the anime, Team Rocket challenge Ash to see who can catch more Pokemon. Because they weren't around to do that, Ash doesn't end up catching like 30 Tauros. He still gets a gun pointed in his face though, rightfully banning this episode in North America. The best part of this timeline is you never have to endure Ash's emotional goodbye with Pikachu. Same with Butterfree actually. Pros and cons to this timeline, I guess. Just a reminder that Pokemon exists in the same universe as Las Vegas. Also, a disclaimer. Melvin the Magician is way creepier than I remember. Oh, and Brock ends up taking the Togepi that hatched from the egg that they got a while back. A little ways down the road, Ash meets a boy named Todd and just totally roasts him.
But you see, this camera is my life. Get yourself a new life.
As a side note, because Brock is a Psyduck, him and Ash got to eat at the all-you-can-eat restaurant for free. And Butch and Cassidy got away with their plot to steal all the Pokemon from their phony daycare center. Eventually, Ash and Brock make their way to Cinnabar Island to get Ash's 7th gym badge. When they get there, they're challenged to solve some riddles in order to get food and shelter for the night. After a long while, the two finally find the hotel. Once there, Brock's Togepi wanders off and by absolute dumb luck, ends up finding the super secret entrance to Blaine's super secret gym, so Ash challenges him to a battle. Blaine starts the battle off with Ninetales, so Ash sends out Raticate. Raticate does its best, but it's no match for Ninetales' powerful Fire Spin. Next, Ash sends out Primeape, and Blaine sends out Rhydon. Rhydon's tough, but Primeape just punches it right in the face, getting the knockout. Last, Blaine sends out Magmar, and Ash sends out Pidgeotto. Despite Magmar's powerful Fire Blast, it's not the most accurate attack in the world. So, Pidgeotto dodges it and counters with a powerful Whirlwind attack, spinning Magmar in a circle, giving him motion sickness, and taking him out of the fight. thus securing Ash the victory and the Volcano Badge. Ash and Brock head back to Viridian City to challenge the gym leader Giovanni. Fortunately for Ash, he's out of town on very pressing business. So, he leaves the gym in the hands of Butch and Cassidy. They start the battle off with Machamp, while Ash uses Primeape. The two are evenly matched, but Primeape comes out on top by punching him really hard in the face. Nobody wants that. Next, Butch and Cassidy send out Kingler, so Ash switches to Raticate. The match plays out exactly the same as the battle with the gentleman on the SSN, with Kingler overpowering Raticate. This makes Ash regret his decision not to trade back with the gentleman on the SSN. Last, Ash sends out Venusaur against Butch and Cassidy's Rhydon. Rhydon goes for a takedown attack, but Venusaur hits it with a Leech Seed and pelts it with leaves till it faints. Quad weakness to grass can be a bitch. That earns Ash the Earth Badge and the right to enter the Pokémon League. Before the Pokémon League, Ash decides to return home to train up his Pokémon. There he meets Gary and decides to have a battle. Gary starts off with Arcanine, and Ash starts with Tauros. The two are evenly matched, but Tauros eventually goes down from Arcanine's powerful fire attacks. Ash then sends out Pidgeotto, who evades Arcanine's attacks and takes it out with a wing attack, causing Gary to send out Nidoking. Pidgeotto's fast, but Nidoking eventually grabs it and delivers a seismic toss, taking it out. Ash chooses Venusaur for his last Pokemon, who's able to grab Nidoking with a Vine Whip and takes it out with a Razor Leaf. Gary's last Pokemon is Blastoise, in a battle of starter versus starter. Blastoise hits Venusaur with a hard Hydro Pump, followed by a Skull Bash. Venusaur retaliates with a Leech Seed to slow it down and a Solar Beam to finish it off, winning Ash the battle. Ash eventually arrives to Pokemon League without any hiccups, and finds that his first match will be against a guy named Mandy on the water field. Mandy starts off the battle with Exeggutor, so Ash decides to send out his Horsey. Exeggutor is able to use his Psychic attack to create a whirlpool that sucks in Horsey. Horsey eventually escapes and uses a Dragon Rage to take out Exeggutor. Next, Mandy sends out Seadra. Seadra outspeeds and outpowers Horsey, but Ash's desire to win allows Horsey to evolve. Ash's Seadra then uses Agility to raise its speed, and a Bubble Beam finishes it off. Last, Mandy sends out Golbat. Seadra swims down and waits until it can see Golbat's shadow just above the water. It then jumps up, hitting it with a Hydro Pump, taking it out of the battle. With that victory, Ash advances on to the next match. This is a close one, with Ash tying it up and it's down to the last Pokemon. Ash sends out Pidgeotto to fight Nidorino. Nidorino's strong, but it's no match for the flying Pokemon's speed and power, and goes down quickly, advancing Ash to the next round. Ash's third match is on the ice field against Pete Pebbleman from Pewter City. No brain cells were strained trying to name that guy. Petey sends out Cloyster, so Ash uses Tauros. Tauros starts with a takedown, so Cloyster immediately withdraws to counter. Tauros just keeps hammering away at Cloyster's shell until it cracks, taking it out of the fight. Next, Pete sends out Arcanine. Tauros charges, but Arcanine's Dragon Rage easily takes it out, so Ash sends out Primeape. Arcanine immediately starts melting the ice with its fire attacks, causing Primeape to have to jump into the water. Primeape then jumps up, nailing Arcanine with a Mega Punch, knocking it into the water, taking Arcanine out and giving Ash the victory. The next day, Ash finds out that Gary lost his last battle, taking him out of the competition. Ash's final battle is against Jeanette on the grass field. Jeanette starts the match with Beedrill to face Ash's Venusaur. Beedrill's fast, dodging Vine Whip, but Venusaur takes it down with a surprise Leech Seed. Next, Jeanette sends out Scyther. Scyther starts by using Double Team. This causes Venusaur to miss all of his attacks, allowing Scyther to get some good damage in. Eventually, Ash realizes that he could just attack all the Scythers at once, so he just does that and takes out Scyther. Last, Jeanette sends out Bellsprout. For some reason, this Bellsprout's extremely powerful, so it just slams Venusaur, taking it out. Next, Ash sends out Primeape, but Bellsprout proves too skilled and too fast to handle. It ends up taking Primeape out with a perfectly timed axe kick to the head. Last, Ash sends out Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto uses its flight to its advantage, dodging Bellsprout's fighting moves until it gets hit by a Razor Leaf, putting Pidgeotto in a sticky situation. Pidgeotto, determined to win, evolves into Pidgeot and finishes the match with a Sky Attack, giving Ash the victory and allowing him to advance to the next round. Ash's next opponent's against Richie, a kid with extremely good engineering skills for his age. Richie sends out Butterfree to fight Ash's Raticate. The two are evenly matched, but Butterfree ends up using Stun Spore to paralyze Raticate. This forces Ash to recall Raticate and send out Primeape. Primeape jumps up and just mauls Butterfree. It's really just not fair. That takes him out. Richie then sends out Charmander, who uses Fire Spin to trap and take out Primeape. Ash thinks about sending out Venusaur, but decides against it because the type disadvantage would be too great. So, he settles on Pidgeot. Pidgeot uses its speed to dodge Charmander's fire attacks, then hits a takedown, taking it out. For Richie's last Pokemon, he sends out Pikachu. The two battle back and forth, with Pikachu eventually landing a Thunder, taking out Pidgeot. This kicks Ash out of the Pokemon League competition. There are a ton of different ways this could have played out, but it only seems fitting to me that a Pikachu, the Pokemon Ash could have had at the beginning of his journey, was the thing that took him out of the Pokemon League. And there you have it. If Ash woke up on time, his journey would have been quite different. This is only one idea, but it's likely based on Ash's personality, strengths, weaknesses, the friends he made along the way, and the people he traveled with. It's not likely Ash would have made it much further in the Pokemon League due to his inexperience as a Pokemon trainer. He's really not that bright. Whatever happens, one thing's for sure. He'd still get further than Gary. That's all that really matters. I'd love to know your opinion on my ideas for this timeline. Did anything not make sense? Did a direction I took Ash in not really add up? Leave a comment and we can continue the discussion down there. Thanks for walking by, everyone. See you in the next video.